Shea Stadium in New York. Today, the New York Mets take on the New York Yankees. Mets Baseball 93 is brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. By Lexus Luxury Automobiles, the result of a relentless pursuit of perfection. By Chemical Bank, when you're playing home and away, do it with the Mets MasterCard, only from Chemical Bank. By Macy's, we're a part of your life. By Coca-Cola, always Coca-Cola with the Mets. And by the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. No other book can match it, a Bell Atlantic company. Pitching for the Yankees this afternoon, Jim Abbott. In 1992, he was 7-15, a 2.77 earned run average. And for the Mets, Sid Fernandez. Sid, the best pitcher on the Mets staff last year. He was 14-11, a 2.73 ERA.
Well, welcome to the Mets and the New York Yankee game, and the first game here at Shea Stadium this year. And Tim, start of a new season, and like everybody says, everybody's equal at this point.
Well, the Yankees and the Mets aren't equal, however. They've played each other 92 times, with the Mets holding a decided deficit in the loss column. The Yankees a 55-36 edge, one tie. And I think it's interesting this afternoon that the Yankees are not starting their regular lineup. As a matter of fact, nobody in the Yankee lineup, with the exception of Bernie Williams, is going to be the starter when they face Cleveland in their opener. And the Mets are starting all of their lineups. A little wet conditions out on the field, but certainly playable.
And the Mets will be going against Jim Abbott, making his debut for the Yankees here in New York City. And that should be very interesting.
What a remarkable story he is. He was only 7-15 last year. He'll be opposed by Sid Fernandez. And as we said, Sid, the best pitcher on the Mets staff last year.
Had a great year. We'll be back with the start of that ball game right after this message from Bud Light.
When I'm on the job, there's no mistaking which team I pull for. But on the town, I show my Mets colors with this, the Mets MasterCard from Chemical Bank. It gives me all of MasterCard's advantages, plus a great lineup of special Mets benefits.
Jeff, about that pitching rotation.
The Mets MasterCard.
Hey, Jeff!
If you have one, use it. If not, call 1-800-233-METS.
Back to Shea Stadium, where we await the start of the Mets-Yankees game this afternoon at Shea. And our guest, very appropriately, Jeff Torborg, the manager of the Mets. And, Jeff, were you satisfied with the way things went this spring?
Tim, I really was. You know, the weather has been crazy. I know it's been terrible back here, but it was raining most of the time over the last 2.5 weeks down in Florida. But we got a lot of work done, and my main concern coming out of spring training was that we started to see 15 surgeries last year. And I think starting it, our idea was we didn't worry about wins and losses down there so much. We worried about getting guys ready, and I think we pulled it together this last week.
I guess the most important guy, if you'd have to name one, was John Franco and his rehabilitation.
Yeah, it really was. That was a concern for me because of that surgery, and he had never had surgery before, and responded to it was a major concern of ours, and we were very, very conservative. Mel said that he wanted to take it so easy with John. In fact, to follow up on that, we threw him before the game. He was throwing in and didn't sit around in the cold, but he's made great strides.
Obviously, you're looking forward to the season, but this has to be a very difficult time for you and for all managers in the major leagues because you have some decisions to make.
Yeah, it's never fun. You know what it's like having been through the game as long as you were, and sometimes you have to make decisions that concern people. We have to make one tomorrow. We've got to get down to 25, and we have to make a decision tomorrow between Tim Bogart, the infielder, and Paul Gibson, the left-handed pitcher, which would give us 11 if we decided to go that way.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much, and the best for a successful season.
Tim, I appreciate it. Thanks.
We'll be right back for the start of today's game right after this from Nobody Beats the Wiz.
Series and the Mets against the Yankees as the lineup cards are being exchanged here at Shea Stadium on a blustery spring day. The temperature right around 45 degrees and a difficult day for baseball, but still the start of a outstanding 1993 season. The flag at half stack in honor of the Cleveland players who were killed in the boating incident earlier this spring as Buck Showalter's Yankees take the field here at Shea Stadium. And the Mets with what will be their starting lineup for the opening day game on Monday when the Mets open up against the Colorado Rockies.
But not so the New York Yankees. We mentioned Bernie Williams was in there. Well, he was a late scratch, so none of the Yankees players that are in the starting lineup are scheduled to start during the season. Frank Howard, an ex-Met manager, as a matter of fact, and Buck Showalter looking at the outfield before the game. And that is a new side in the outfield. You may remember the concert last year, well, concerts actually, when Eric Clapton and Elton John fans tore up the outfield. Well, the outfield was resodded, and it's about taken hold, but not solidly. So there could be some bad footing.
90,000 square feet of new sod put in here after those two concerts. The last time this field was resodded was 1989 when they had the Rolling Stones here at Shea Stadium, and they had to resod at that time. The starting pitcher for the New York Mets, Sid Fernandez, with a record of 14-11 last year, an earned run average of 2.73 this spring. He was 1-0 in 4 game starts. This will be his 5th game start of the spring training season.
Here's the lineup for the New York Yankees. Mike Humphries was initially slated to be the left fielder. He'll start in right field this afternoon. Deion James will be the left fielder and bat second. Randy Velarde will hit third and play third. Catcher Jim Leyritz batting fourth. Hensley Mulin's the first baseman today, batting fifth. Gerald Williams, a fine outfielder, will play center field and hit sixth. Mike Gallego, the ex-Athletic, will play second base and bat seventh. Shortstop Andy Stankiewicz will bat eighth, and Jim Abbott on the mound.
Yankees with a record of 20-10 this spring. The Mets have a record of 13-14. And for the Mets, their defense will have Coleman in left field, Thompson in center, Bonilla in right. In the infield, Johnson at third base. Tony Fernandez will be the shortstop. Jeff Kent will be at second, and Eddie Murray, the veteran first baseman, at first base for the Mets, with Todd Hundley doing the catching. The umpires for this game, 2 National League umpires, Eric Gregg behind home plate and John McSherry at second base, and 2 American League umpires. Ken Kaiser will be at first base, and Al Clark will be the umpire at third. So we're about to get underway as you look at the leadoff batter in this ball game, Mike Humphries. Humphries having a great spring, hitting .463, 19 base hits to lead the Yankee ball club. One of those hits a home run, and he has driven in 15. Last year, a .282 batter with 6 home runs and 46 RBIs at Columbus, the Yankees' #1 farm club in the International League. So Sid Fernandez on the mound, and the first pitch of the ball game, a fastball, a called strike. Humphries playing in right field, originally scheduled to be the left fielder, and the Yankees making that late switch. Another fastball, 1 ball, 1 strike. Humphries led the International League in stolen bases last year. He has fine speed.
He's a good player, coming to the Yankees a couple of years ago for Oscar Ozokar.
And strike 2, all 3 pitches. And no swings at all by Mike Humphries. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Yankees as a team hitting .269 this spring. They had 13 home runs. The Mets as a team hitting .267 with 20 home runs in the spring training season. And the fastball, the first out of the ball game. 45 degrees here at Shea Stadium at the start of the ball game. And 1 away, and the batter coming up, Deion James. Deion James, the Milwaukee Brewers' first-round draft choice back in 1980. And he gets the first curve of the ball game from Sid Fernandez, a beauty for a called strike.
I don't know about you, Ralph, but whenever we used to go north, there was a problem with timing as far as your hitting was concerned. You hit the cold weather where you feel like Godzilla, you're so strong.
That's true.
And it's a timing apparatus where you almost have to slow your swing down. You can't jump out there with the bat. There are an awful lot of balls that are hit off the end of the bat first 2 weeks of the season.
That cold weather really rejuvenates you as you have spent that hot weather session down in the warmer states that they use for spring training. Deion James hitting .234 this spring, 11 base hits, none of them home runs. He drove in 5. And Sid Fernandez with the count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. James also spending some time in the National League, as a matter of fact. One of the most unusual things that we have ever seen in the ballpark was happening when he was at the plate and hit a fly ball to left field. They hit a bird, killed the bird. The ball dropped for a base hit. Fly ball to center. Thompson, the center fielder. So Sid Fernandez gets his second out as Brian Thompson makes the catch. And that will bring up Randy Velarde, who also is having a great spring for the Yankees. Velarde last year played 6 different positions for the Yankees, hit .272 with 7 home runs, 46 RBIs. This spring he hit .413, leading the club with 19 base hits. Velarde, with no home runs, did drive in 10. And he hits it hard at the shortstop, Tony Fernandez. The throw to first, and the Yankees go in order. A 1-2-3 inning for Sid Fernandez, and the score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Yankees nothing, the Mets coming up, and here's a word from Bud Light. For the Yankees, acquired from the California Angels, 7-15 last year. He led the American League in earned run average at 2.77, and making his first appearance ever against the New York Mets.
And the lineup for the Mets as advertised, all of their regulars. This, presumably, unless there's an injury, will be the starting lineup on Monday against Colorado, the 2:10 game. Vince Coleman, the left fielder, hitting leadoff. Shortstop Tony Fernandez batting second, and Eddie Murray batting third. Bobby Bonilla will hit fourth and play right. Third baseman Howard Johnson batting fifth, and Jeff Kent hitting sixth. Brian Thompson, the center fielder, will bat seventh. Todd Hundley, the catcher, eighth, and Sid Fernandez, ninth.
Defense for the Yankees, Deion James in left field, Gerald Williams in center, Mike Humphreys in right. Velarde at third base, Stankiewicz at short, Gallego at second, and Mullins is at first base. Jim Leyritz, and he puts down the sign for the first pitch. It's ball one. Vince Coleman, the leader off for the Mets. Coleman on the disabled list the first 2 years with the Mets, 5 different times. Hitting .235 this spring, and the pitch for a ball, and it's ball two.
Well, you just watched that live arm of Jim Abbott coming to the Yankees during the offseason. But there are an awful lot of right-handed batters on which he pitches inside. He can break some bats.
Ready, got him on the hands right there with that pitch as he comes inside, and Coleman grounds out. Most amazing, the dexterity of the pitcher, Jim Abbott.
Born with the deformity in his right hand, he shifts the glove to his left, takes the glove off, and throws out Vince Coleman. You know, he almost led the American League in fielding last year. 46 chances, no errors. Only Ben McDonald of the Orioles was better. Remarkable. But, you know, the thing is, he doesn't consider it remarkable and doesn't want anybody talking about it, about being remarkable. It's only remarkable to people who were born with 2 hands and 2 arms.
Of course, back in the years of the war in 1944, one-arm ball player named Pete Gray played for the St. Louis Browns. There have been some one-arm pitchers that pitched going back into the 1800s.
never anybody with the success that Jim has had, however.
Not even close.
No.
2-0 the count to Tony Fernandez, acquired from the San Diego Padres. Abbott in 29 game starts last year. And he gets a strike, and it's 2-1. Had 7 complete games, a record of 7-15 for the California Angels. Fernandez with the San Diego Padres last year. A major part of his career with the Toronto Blue Jays. Hitting .271 this spring with 13 hits. Off the hands and fouled back into the stands. 2-2. Just underway here at Shea. No base runners in the game. Beautiful pitch. And Fernandez struck out.
That is that biting slider inside, and we talked about how Abbott likes to come inside on right-handers. Boy, that is a nasty pitch right there. Looked a little like a Steve Carlson slider, didn't it?
Exactly what I was thinking. Steve Carlson used to just bury you with that inside slider to right-hand batters. And that'll bring up Eddie Murray. Murray with a very good spring, hitting .351. And again, he gets that inside corners. He comes in with that fastball right over the hands of Eddie Murray.
Red ball looked a little inside. The home plate umpire, by the way, Eric Gregg, who missed all of last season, had some weight problems, and it is certainly nice to see Eric back on the field where he belongs.
And the breaking ball. Murray out in front of it, pulls it foul, strike 2 the count. Abbott has not given up an earned run in spring training. This is his 5th game start. He's worked 19 innings coming into this game, allowing just 15 hits, no home runs, and no earned runs. Opposition hitting .205 against him this spring as he misses with a fastball, 1-2.
Last season, it wasn't earned runs given up that caused Abbott problems, but it was run support. He got only 2.55 runs a game, which is the lowest by any pitcher since the DH started back in 1973. That's why he had that 7-15 record last year.
Allowed only 2.8 earned runs per game in his game starts. Had 29 of those. Good control, only 68 walks in 211 innings, striking out 130 last season for the Angels. That went off the hands again, an easy chance, bobbled, and now the shuffle off is just in time as Abbott recovers to get the out, and the Mets go in order. So both sides out in order in the first inning. The score at the end of 1. The Yankees nothing, the Mets nothing, and here's a word from Foot Locker. The outfield for the New York Mets. Coleman out on a ground ball back to the pitcher, and we'll try and find out if there was a reason for that change. Here's the replay on Eddie Murray. Watch the pitcher, Jim Abbott.
Fielding the ball like this, Ralph and I talking about it between innings, and you would think that Abbott, whom we've seen sparingly, would have problems fielding bunts, and that brought to mind a guy that Ralph and I both remember, Monty Stratton.
Monty Stratton injured his leg and had an amputated leg and tried to make a comeback with the Chicago White Sox just after the war, and they bunted him out of the league. Monty Stratton, a pitcher for the Chicago White Sox at the time. You probably remember the movie, the Monty Stratton story, and also a book written about that. As the leadoff batter here in the second, Jim Leyritz, has a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Jim hitting .385 this spring with 10 base hits. And it's 2 balls and 1 strike to the catcher, Leyritz. Leyritz had a final month of a .462 average to end up hitting .257 for the Yankees last year in 63 ball games. Sid Fernandez misses for ball 3. Sid working a good inning, his first inning of work with a strikeout, and retiring the Yankees in order. Now behind for the first time, 3-1 to Leyritz. Walked him. So the first base runner of the game.
Ralph, when Monty Stratton retired, he spent several years in another capacity outside of baseball, and then was the president of the American Legion program when I was playing American Legion ball in Memphis in the late 50s.
So a runner at first base, and Hensley Mullins will be the batter, having a tough spring. Led the International League last year with 26 home runs. And he gets the slow curve for a ball. Mullins 8 for 41 this spring, hitting .195.
You've heard that saying, no man is an island? Well, both of these guys are, Sid Fernandez and Hensley Mullins.
And a line drive right at the shortstop, Fernandez. No throw to first as Leyritz dives back into the bag. 1 away.
Mullins, the only player ever from the island of Curacao. He is a national hero down there. And Sid Fernandez, of course, as Mets fans know, is from the island of Oahu. That's why he wears number 50. As Hawaii was the 50th state, I think, back in 1959.
He also has his favorite TV program, Hawaii 5-0. As you look at Gerald Williams, last year a .285 batter at Columbus with 16 home runs, hitting .254 this spring with 17 hits, 2 of them home runs. Ground ball to third. Howard Johnson, the half hop, picks the force play, and that's all they'll get, as Leyritz is forced at second base on the ground ball.
Last year when the Mets traded for Jeff Kent, there was some concern about the transition, since he had played most of his games at third base with Toronto, about Jeff's transition to second base. Well, he signed as a second baseman. Howard Johnson with the sure out, but Jeff Kent thinking too, and almost gets Gerald Williams at first base. He's a guy who has fun playing the game. He and Ryan Thompson add a lot of zest to this Met team.
He's a good competitor, tough ball player, as he has a little fun with the force play at second base. So the Phillies have released Dale Murphy, veteran outfielder, 2-time most valuable player in the National League, and looks like he's going to sign with the Colorado Rockies, who open the season here on Monday. And Mike Gallego grounds to the third baseman, and a safe call at second as Johnson goes to Kent. And the Yankees get the call from the second base umpire, John McSherry. All hands are safe.
Jeff Kent wanted to play. It was a very close play at second. A momentary bobble by Howard Johnson. But credit Gerald Williams for getting to second in a hurry, and on that play he looked safe. Interesting to note how Jeff Kent became a first baseman as a second baseman on that play. On the play before making the pivot, he was the second baseman trying to complete the double play, but he stretched on that, but not quite far enough.
He was looking for the neighborhood call at second there. This being the neighborhood of the bag to get the call happens quite often at first base, but this time not at second. And now the batter, Andy Stankiewicz, and he takes the first pitch for strike 1. Stankiewicz became the first Yankee rookie last year with at least 100 hits since 1976. Batted .268 for the Yankees with 107 hits. Hitting .222 this spring with 8 hits and 36 at-bats. Yankees with runners at first and second. They have yet to have a hit in the ball game. A walk in the fielder's choice. And a good curve right back to Sid Fernandez as the contact is made by Stankiewicz, and that will end the inning. So no hits, no runs, 2 men left on, and the score at the end of 1.5 innings, The Yankees nothing, the Mets nothing, and here's a word from Bud Light.
Second base, and on 2 consecutive plays, the different way that he received the ball from Howard Johnson. This is with 1 out, and he attempts the double play. Watch him come across the bag, and that's what Ralph was talking about. He's not on the bag, but second base umpires will give him the benefit of the doubt, the neighborhood play. Now, this is with 2 outs. He just wants the 1 out. Now, watch him stretch like a first baseman. But they don't get the call.
So we're going to the bottom of the second. No score, and Bobby Bonilla will lead it off for the Mets. On the mound, Jim Abbott working for the Yankees. And the first pitch to the fastball, a called strike. Bonilla, a good spring as far as home runs. He leads the club with 4, and he gets the curveball there. Pops it up to left field. Deion James in left field. And he makes the catch. Speaking of neighborhood plays, you saw the number 14, Gil Hodges, who managed the Mets to the World Championship for the first time in 1969. The exponent of the neighborhood play at first base when playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers all those years. I don't believe Timmy was ever on the bag when he caught a ball at first base.
I played with Orlando Cepeda in 1967 with the Cardinals, and he was pretty good at that himself. MVP that year.
Now Howard Johnson, looking for a comeback year, hit .223 with only 7 home runs last year after leading the National League in home runs and runs batted in the year before. Howard, a home run his first time up this spring, and so far hitting .256 during spring training with 11 hits. 1 home run, 6 runs batted in. And Abbott missing again. 2 balls, no strikes. I think the Mets need a good year from Howard Johnson to be a strong contender after his great year 2 years ago. First switch hitter in National League history to lead the National League in runs batted in when he led the league 2 years ago. Called by Ken Kaiser, the first base umpire, as a strike. So it's 2-1 to Howard Johnson. Second on the all-time Mets list for home runs, runs scored, doubles, and stolen bases. And a ball call, and the count 3-1 to Johnson. Scoreless game. The Mets have yet to have a base runner. There's a strike. 3-2.
We can say that was down Broadway again, right?
Right
Back
down
in New York.
Broadway.
Yeah. It's right down 5th. We ought to change that because 5th designates east and west in the city.
That's right.
So it should be it's right down 5th Avenue. What have we been saying Broadway all these years? That's wrong. So that was right down 5th Avenue, the last two pitches.
You're going to change the whole Parliament.
Absolutely.
Right down 5th Avenue.
Of course.
Struck him out. So Abbott comes back from a 3-1 count to strike at Howard Johnson, his second strikeout. He's now retired 5 in a row.
You know, when you take a look at Jim Abbott's motion, and once again, the truly remarkable thing about this young man is for most players to throw a ball, you have to bring the glove over to the right shoulder if you are a right-handed thrower, left shoulder if you're a left-handed thrower. That's what closes the side. But you see that Abbott brings the glove up above his head, and that is a very unusual motion for a guy who does not have a deformed right hand. It is really remarkable when you see this young man work.
1 strike to count to Jeff Kent, and it's grounded out to the third baseman, Velarde. And the Mets again are retired in orders. Velarde picks up the out at first base. The score at the end of 2, the Yankees nothing, the Mets nothing. And here's a word from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. A change for the New York Mets. Orsulak has taken over in right field for the New York Mets. So Bobby Bonilla out of the ball game. Orsulak having a fine spring for the Mets, acquired from the Baltimore Ball Club, and replacing Bonilla in right field.
That's what Jeff plans to do with his regulars. He's just rotating his regulars this afternoon with the cold weather. Just give them a little feel of Shea Stadium. And tomorrow both teams play in Yankee Stadium, and then the Mets open here at Shea on Monday against the Rockies, and the Yankees will go to Cleveland to open against the Cleveland Indians on Monday afternoon.
No scores. We go to the top of the third. Jeff Torborg, the manager of the Mets, as the Yankees bat here in the third inning with pinch hitter Bernie Williams at the plate. Williams batting for Jim Abbott. American League, of course, with the DH. And that pitch is a ball in the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. When the American League teams play against the National League teams in the National League ballpark, they have to use a regular lineup with no designated hitter. So this is a pinch hit performance for Bernie Williams. A drive to deep left center field. It is out of here. A home run for Bernie Williams. And the Yankees take the lead by a score of 1-0, and that's the first home run given up by Fernandez this spring.
Unusual power coming from Bernie Williams. He only had 5 home runs last year and 261 at-bats. But, I mean, he really cranks this one just over the outstretched glove of Dave Gallagher.
So the first hit of this game by either team, and it's a home run. The Yankees leading 1-0 as Mike Humphries takes the curveball. It's a called strike. Humphries struck out his first time up. Ball, 1 strike as Sid Fernandez misses with a fastball. Two balls, 1 strike. Chasing Orsulak back. And Joe with his first chance and 1 away.
Nice crowd on hand today, about 25,000, and the proceeds from today's game and tomorrow's game will go to local charities. But certainly not a charitable feeling between Yankee fans and Mets fans in this city. You are one or the other. Rarely are you both.
Mayor's Challenge Series. Yankees winning both games last year. Won at Yankee Stadium. And a strike call to Deion James. Batting for the second time. James flied to center his first time up. Yankees with the only hit. Pinch hit home run by Bernie Williams. And a fly ball to left center field. And again, Dave Gallagher.
Ralph, we talked about Jim Abbott's motion and about how he goes over his head to throw. Now, once again, this was Jim Abbott and his wind-up. See how he looks down, has the glove over his head. Well, this is Sid Fernandez's wind-up. Rarely will Sid bring the glove over his head for leverage. He keeps his hands out in front.
And the first pitch to Randy Velarde, way inside for ball one. Last year, Fernandez with a record of 14-11. The opposing batters hit just .210 against him. Third best at holding hitters to the lowest batting average. And the fastball fouled away.
Throughout his career, he has given up 6.68 hits per 9 innings. That is the lowest career rate in National League history, with a minimum of 1,000 innings pitched.
Remember, people like Sandy Koufax included.
Amazing.
1 ball, 1 strike to count.
Bob Gibson, Steve Carlton.
And the fastball fouled away. Sid also very low in strikeout average per game. Last year, second in the National League with the average of 8.1 strikeouts per 9 innings.
Struck out more right-handers than any other pitcher in the National League, and that includes right-handed pitching.
David Cohn led the league in strikeouts per 9 innings. Even though he spent some of his time in the American League, Cohn averaged 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. There's a strikeout. So the strikeout ends the inning, but the first hit of the ball game, a pinch hit home run by Bernie Williams. The Yankees lead it after 2.5 innings, 1-0. And here's a word from Lexus. New pitcher in the game for the Yankees. And it's Jim Abbott is out of the game.
Rich Monteleone was 7-3 for the Yankees last year. Once with the California Angels. So Rich Monteleone in relief of Jim Abbott, who worked 2 innings, retiring all 6 batters to face him.
Yankees leading 1-0. Jim Abbott continues to keep his ERA at 0 for spring training, and he has made his last appearance this spring, having an outstanding spring.
He will, in all probability, open on Wednesday night when the Yankees face the Cleveland Indians in Game 2. Jimmy Key tabbed for the starter against Cleveland on Monday afternoon.
Mets trailing 1-0 as Ryan Thompson leads it off, and Ryan takes the fastball for ball 1. Thompson hit .222 for the Mets, 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in after coming to the Mets from Toronto. And the fastball again, 2 balls, no strikes. Thompson this spring hitting .224, 11 hits, 2 of them home runs. Extra bases. So Thompson gets the Mets' first base hit.
On the line with Considine. Right on the line. Everybody remembers, if you're old enough to remember, Tim Considine, great broadcaster and a huge baseball fan. Watch this ball, right on the line with Considine.
One of the interesting stories that Bob Considine told me was on his birthday, he was taking a cab to Toots Shores, and the cab driver says, "Don't tell me, I know who you are, but don't tell me. I'll tell you who you are, just can't think of your name right now," which he went on and on. Finally, just as he got out of the cab, he says, "I know who you are. You're Ralph Kiner." On his birthday, he was called Ralph Kiner. It ruined his whole day.
That wouldn't ruin my day if I were called you.
And it's Todd Huntley, and that's strike 1.
Doesn't ruin my day. I'm blamed for some of the things that you said, and you're blamed for some of the things that I said.
That's right.
So, and it's never ruined our days before.
We haven't kept a ledger of that, but sure look at Todd Huntley. Huntley, with 9 hits this spring, 2 of them have been home runs, hitting .200. He is tied for the club lead in runs batted in with 10. For the spring, and Huntley takes a fastball, strike 2. Huntley has hit the ball sharply this spring, even though his average is only at 200. He has hit the ball well after a very slow start. Key in the Mets' plans. There's a good pitch. So Huntley will carry his bat back.
Well, there's Sid. We talked about pitchers with jackets on. Sid looks like he had his pajama top on when he was standing on deck. Sid with a sweatshirt on to keep warm. Why wouldn't he wear a jacket?
Good question. Sid, a pretty good hitting pitcher. He's had a home run. Takes a good swing, but fouls off the fastball as Monty Leone gets that pitch by him. Sid got his career home run against Don Quisenberry back in 1989. Yankees leading 1-0 on a pinch hit home run. And the Mets now have the potential time run at second with 1 out. And the breaking ball called strike 2.
One of the things that the Mets are trying to improve on this year is the movement of runners. A man on second, nobody out to push him to third. They were very, very bad in that category last year and the year before. Todd Hundley failing to move Thompson to third base with Fernandez coming up.
And the off-speed pitch.
There's the splitter right there. As a matter of fact, you could see the fingers split on Monteleone's index finger and middle finger. That ball going down, and that pitch, among other pitchers in the big leagues, have really saved a lot of careers.
So two men away, and Dave Gallagher the batter. Gallagher batting for the first time. Replaced Vince Coleman in the outfield. Coleman 0 for 1 as he grounded back to the pitcher his first time up. Slider high, 1 ball, no strikes. Thompson, the runner at second base. And a fly ball to left field. Going back is James, and a great catch by Deion James to end the inning. So James, a brilliant play to save a run. And as we go to the bottom half of the third, it's the Yankees 1 and the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Budweiser. 1-0, and the Mets turned away on a brilliant play by Deion James as he catches the line drive.
Tell you, Ralph, Deion James acts like Jesse James in robbing Dave Gallagher of a double to end the third inning. And there's a Jesse James cap on cue.
And mask to go with it as Tim McCarver comes in for the play-by-play. Where is Tano when you need him?
Jim Leyritz, the catcher, leads it off here in the 4th inning. He walked to lead off the 2nd inning. Jim of the fine spring batting .385. 1-0 Yankees. A home run by Bernie Williams, a pinch hit home run in the 3rd inning. And the curveball's in there to Jim. 0-2 to Jim Leyritz. Now you want your stiff front leg when you swing, but Jim Leyritz has a stiff front leg before he swings.
You see most of the hitters hit against that front leg that stays out in a straight manner, and look how he sets up right there to have that leg in a straight position.
Down on strikes. 3rd strikeout for Sid Fernandez. Sid has looked strong today, as has Yankee pitching.
All right, you see the stiff leg running down. Then he cocks it up, tries to get it back down straight again, and that time it didn't work.
Popped up right side, and Orsolak will make the catch. Ball hit to the right side by Hensley Newlands. There are 2 outs here in the 4th inning. Two outs here in the 4th inning. And Gerald Williams, the center fielder, is the batter. It's 1-0 Yankees on a game that some thought wouldn't be played today, but it is dry here. It was raining all morning in New York, and the field looks in pretty good playing condition. 0-1 to Gerald Williams.
Had 2 inches of rain Thursday here at Shea Stadium after 7 inches of rain in the month of March. It's amazing they got this field playable.
Foul back, 0-2 now to Williams. Gerald also with that stiff front leg, but an open stance. And he is blown away by Sid Fernandez. That high fastball gets him. After 3.5, it's 1-0 Yankees. We go to the bottom of the 4th after this from Nobody Beats the Wiz. The Yankees here in the bottom of the 4th inning. First game at Shea Stadium this year. And this game is brought to you in part by Nobody Beats the Wiz, home entertainment centers for everything in home electronics, music, and movies. Nobody beats the Wiz. Also, by Macy's. We're a part of your life. And we are hoping to be a part of your life all season long. We will be carrying 75 games on WWOR, about half of the games that the Mets play. And Tony Fernandez leads it off. The slick fielding shortstop is 0 for 1. He struck out against Jim Abbott in the 1st inning. Mets only hit a double by Ryan Thompson as Rich Monteleone's pitch is outside to Tony Fernandez. Ground ball towards second. Mike Gallego throws out Fernandez. And a homecoming of sorts for Fernandez here in New York City with the huge Hispanic population in the city. As I said, Monteleone, it's Scott Kamenecki who is on the mound for Rich Monteleone. So the 3rd Yankee pitcher, it looks like we'll be using and seeing the staff today for the Yankees. He is the 3rd pitcher in 4th inning and was a roommate of Jim Abbott's in college at the University of Michigan from 1986 to 1988. Fastball outside, 2-0 to Eddie Murray, who is 0 for 1. He grounded to Jim Abbott in the 1st inning. Outside corner, strike 1. Eddie Murray with 93 RBIs last year, 75 or more his first 16 years. He loops this one to left field, and Deion James makes the catch. 2 outs here in the 4th inning. Only Henry Aaron, with 19 years of 75 RBIs or more, has had more seasons with that many RBIs. But the difference between Murray and Aaron is Murray did it his first 16 years as a player. Looked like he broke his bat on that one. I think he just told Jeff Torborg that he had had enough. 1-0 to Joe Orsulak. Joe's first plate appearance this afternoon. Bobby Bonilla started in right field.
Joe having a good spring, leading all Mets hitters this spring with an average of .353, and that's leading hitters with 40 or more at bats. Orsulak's going to be used a lot this year, I'm sure. He has really proven that he can play a good, solid game of baseball.
Yeah, Vince Coleman on the DL 5 times the last 2 years. I'm sure Joe will spell him if injuries reoccur. You have Ryan Thompson in center field. He is classified as a rookie. And everyone's hoping for success, but it'd be the best thing for the Mets if Orsulak doesn't see a lot of playing time. Because that would mean that Coleman's healthy and that Thompson's doing well. Three balls, 2 strikes to Joe Orsulak. Got him. So the Mets are once again retired in order. Scott Kamenecki doing the job this time. After 4, it's 1-0 Yankees. We'll be back after this from Anheuser-Busch. Jeff McKnight is in for Eddie Murray at first base, the only change for the Mets this inning. As you saw Eddie going across his throat saying, "I've had enough for today." He had a couple of at-bats, 1 over 2. Mets have 1 hit. The Yankees have 1 hit. The difference is the Yankees' 1 hit was a solo homer, a pinch hit variety by Bernie Williams. Sid Fernandez has gone 4 innings, striking out 4 and walking 1. And the first batter to face him in the 5th, Mike Gallego. Mike, a fielder's choice in the 2nd inning. A lot of talk about Gallego being shopped in a trade. He signed as a free agent last year with the Yankees, but hurt his heel in spring training in a game against the Mets, as a matter of fact. That limited his playing time to 53 games last year. Curve in there for a strike, 1-1 to Gallego. Low, ball 2, 2 balls and a strike. Mets open the season on Monday. That game is a sellout. 2:10 starting time. We will be on the air at 1:30 next Wednesday afternoon when the Rockies and the Mets resume play. This one looped down the left field line. It's going to be in there. Gallego will have a double for the 2nd Yankee hit. Sid has thrown 45 pitches today and about 3-to-1 ratio strikes to balls.
Well, Gallego playing third base as the starting third baseman in this game. Of course, Wade Box will be the third baseman as the season opens. Gallego playing behind him. Boggs hitting .197 this spring. Not a very impressive spring as he comes to the Yankees from the Red Sox.
With a .338 lifetime average. And a bunch of beauty by Stankiewicz, and Johnson throwing him out. Normally you wouldn't see that in the National League with a pitcher coming up, but because the pitcher will be pinch hit for by Danny Tartabull, that's why Buck Showalter, the manager of the Yankees, elected to have Stankiewicz bunt.
And a good play by Johnson as he gets the out at first base. That'll go as a sacrifice. No time at bat for Stankiewicz. as it moves Gallego over to third.
And the pinch hitter, Danny Tartable, for the Yankees with the infield in. Curveball for a strike to Danny Tartable, the son of the ex-Major League player Jose Tartable, who is now with the Kansas City Royals as a roving instructor. High cheese, 0-2.
Tartable this spring hitting .204. Last year, .266 with 25 home runs for the Yankees.
He had 85 RBIs and 421 at-bats. Missed a number of games last year. Yankee fans would remember when his wife incurred some difficulty in her pregnancy. I think he was on a leave of absence on 3 different occasions. It's a ball and 2 strikes to Danny Tartable. Inside, ball 2, 2-2.
Sid with his patented fastball. He does not throw at a high rate of speed. Very deceptive as he hides the ball. He's been clocked around 91, 92 miles an hour, which is fast, but not blazing fast. Very, very strong in the strikeout department.
Right fielder Mike Humphries takes a breaking ball outside. Gallego still at third base. It's 1-0 Yankees. No strikes to Mike Humphries, who is 0 for 2. He has struck out and flied to right. Outfield straight away for Mike. Two balls, no strikes to Mike Humphries. Inside, 3 balls and no strikes, and one would assume that Humphries, who's had a terrific spring, batting .300, will be hitting here. Nope, he's taking 3-1 now to Mike. See, Hundley flashed his pinky. That meant fastball away. And then his index finger, fastball inside. Fernandez shook off both of them. Nope, this is fastball right here. And Humphries draws a walk. When you're behind in the count, a guy like Fernandez does not throw to spots in that he doesn't throw to the catcher's mitt, but to the 4 corners, the 2 shoulders, the points of the shoulders, and the 2 shin guards. That kind of opens up the area. You don't throw to the glove, but just throw to the bigger area. See the 4 points, the shin guards and the 2 shoulders.
And he gets that outside upper corner and doesn't get the call from home plate umpire Eric Gregg.
We have a new toy in the booth this year, and it's a telestrator, and we'll try to show you what we're talking about after this pitch. As Deion James is up, and he lifts one to right field. and we'll have to wait till next inning for the telestrator. Our debut was delayed by 1 pitch. The Yankees don't score in the 5th inning. A fine job by Fernandez through 5. It's 1-0 Yankees. We go to the bottom of the 5th after this from Lexus. We were talking about the last inning. To widen the strike zone for Fernandez, the 4 corners were here, the shin guards. So you pitch into the shoulder points and the shin guards. That gives the pitcher a bigger area to which to throw rather than just the catcher's mitt right there. And Sid Fernandez eventually walks him. But that's the thing about Sid. He pitches to a bigger area, especially when he's behind in the count, because he can blow you away. John Habian, a new pitcher and a new announcer, too. Ralph Kiner.
Okay, Jim, and Habian, the 4th pitcher used by the Yankees. And he'll be working to Howard Johnson, who has struck out his first time up. Howard fouls off the fastball. Jim Abbott, the starter, worked 2 innings, gave up no runs on no hits. Monteleone, the 2nd pitcher, worked an inning, gave up 1 hit. The Mets only hit. Scott Kamenecki working the 4th, and now John Habian. Howard Johnson batting for the 2nd time as the Mets trail 1-0. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yankees have announced that Jim Key will be their opening day pitcher against the Cleveland Indians. There's a ball, ball 2. Alito Perez has been scratched due to some problems with his arm as the opening day pitcher, and Jimmy Key will open up. The Mets will open up with Dwight Gooden. It'll be his 7th opening day for the Mets. He has a record of 4-1. The all-time leader in opening day starts for the Mets, Tom Seaver, who opened it 11 times for the Mets. And it's fouled away. So Johnson, missing a good shot at the fastball, fouls it off in the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Mets open up against the Colorado Rockies Monday. Game time at 2:10. It'll be David Need going for Colorado in their first game ever, the expansion club. Rockies having a very fine spring. They led the Cactus League going into this game with a record of 17-13. Led by Don Baylor. The Grapefruit League, and that's the one that's down in Florida. The Reds have the best record of 18-8. And Johnson works out a walk. So the Mets with a potential tying run at first with no one out. And Jeff Kent coming up. Kent rounded out his first time up. Johnson, a good lead at first. Get some attention over there. Johnson this spring with 1 stolen base in 5 attempts. All-time leader in stolen bases in Mets history. And it's tapped out to the first base side. Only 1 play, and that's at first base. And on the out, Johnson goes down to second.
Nothing more aggravating for a hitter to wait 8 positions to hit, and on the first pitch have a check swing.
A swinging bunt and no sacrifice. But the job gets the job done as the Mets now had a potential time run at second. And Ryan Thompson, the batter for the Mets. Thompson with the Mets' only base hit, a double down the left field line. That was off of Monteleone. A ball call by Eric Gregg, the home plate umpire. Thompson this spring 12 for 50. shortstop, Stankiewicz. Johnson holding at second base on the out.
The catcher, number 9, Todd Huntley.
Stankiewicz picking up the assist, and now with 2 men out, the batter will be Todd Huntley. Huntley struck out his first time up. Huntley with 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in the spring. And the fastball he called strike. Chico Walker is the on-deck batter to bat for the pitcher as Mike Draper throws in the bullpen for the Mets. Draper was named the top player in spring training for the Mets this year. And the fastball fouled away, 1 ball, 1 strike. Mike Draper warming up for the Mets. He was selected from the Yankees in the Rule 5 draft. That's the old minor league draft, where you're left on the minor league roster, not protected on the major league roster.
Well, a beach ball has just descended. Now, that had to come from Florida because New York weather has not been good enough for a beach ball to be out yet and inflated. Most of the beach balls in this area, I'd have to say, are deflated.
1-2 the count. Might have come from California with the weather they had in Florida this spring.
Yeah, that's right.
It's that kind of day. 44 degrees at game time. Two and two.
I think Todd Huntley has spread out a little bit more this year and closed his stance a little bit more. The more a hitter's back is shown to the pitcher, the more closed his stance is.
He pulls a lot of balls foul, and by closing that stance, he has a little better chance to keep it in fair territory. Ground ball to Mullins, the first baseman. That retires the side, so the Mets leave their second batter in this ball game in scoring position. The score at the end of 5. The Yankees won, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Coca-Cola Classic. For the New York Mets as he comes into this ball game, the Mets also making a pitching change. Mike Draper will be the new pitcher for the Mets.
Mike Draper, an interesting story. He was with the Yankees. As a matter of fact, he signed with the Yankees and was drafted by the Mets in the Rule 5 draft. He had 37 saves in AAA ball last year. That is not only an International League record, but it's a AAA record. Nobody playing AAA baseball had ever saved that many games. And Mike was impressive then and impressive enough this spring to make the ball club.
Picked as the top player in spring training for the Mets as he works to Randy Velarde. Velarde 0 for 2, and the first pitch hit to the second baseman, Jeff Kent. So Kent picks up the out as Draper throws 1 pitch.
Talking to Jeff Dorborg about Mike Draper, and he said, you know, the thing that impresses you about Draper is his refusal to give in. Talking about a double play or bases loaded situation in spring training where the count went to 2 balls and a strike. He said he still didn't give in. He's still working the corners and relies on making hitters reach to get them out.
And he goes right outside where Leyritz would have had to reach that ball. Leyritz has walked and struck out in his 2 appearances. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. Yankees leading 1-0, only 3 hits in the game. The Yankees have 2, both extra base hits. And the difference in the ball game, a pinch hit home run by Bernie Williams, and there's the Yankees' 3rd hit. So Leyritz, who was hitting .385 coming into this game this spring, now raises his average a few points higher with his first hit in 2 at-bats in this game. So Leyritz on at first as Hensley Mullen steps in. Mullen's 0 for 2 as line to short and fly to right. Breaking ball for ball 1. The 25th time the Mets and Yankees have played against each other in their history here in New York. Fastball fouled away. The Yankees have won 14 times. The Mets have won 9. With one of those games a tie. You're watching Mets baseball 93 on Channel 9 WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. 1-0 Yankees. 1 man out, top of the 6th inning. Rob Kiner along with Tim McCarver bringing you this spring training ball game. Our last broadcast before the season opens on Monday. The Mets against the Colorado Rockies. Mets play the Rockies Monday and Wednesday, both afternoon ball games. The Monday game, opening day game, is sold out. Game time at 2:10. Wednesday afternoon game, plenty of tickets, and that starts at 1:40. Ball gets away from Todd Huntley, and on the pitch, Leyritz goes down to second. Should be a wild pitch.
Looked like a slider, and sometimes a catcher will get his arms in between his legs, and that will cut down on his mobility. That was not that difficult a chance for Todd Huntley. It scooted by him, but he looked a little, and that's unusual for Todd because normally he is very quick on balls like that. But it stayed down and scooted by him.
So they count 3-1 and a runner in scoring position. 3-2. Mets will conclude that first homestand with 3 games against the Houston Astros. They'll play Houston Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday. Tickets are available for that last series. First night game Friday, day game Saturday, and a day game Sunday. Walked him. So now runners at first and second on the walk. 1 man out, and Gerald Williams about it. In the bullpen for the Mets, Mike Maddox.
Jeff Torborg's remarks before the game. John Franco throwing before the game. He will not appear in today's game. Maybe tomorrow, but Jeff telling us before the game that John tuning up for the season and delighted with his progress this season after the rehab, after the surgery last winter.
Popped up and out in right center. Kent makes a good play. No infield fly rule called there.
Tough chance, right?
As it was a tough chance, and there wasn't an assurity that the infielder could make the play.
And a lot of folks may not understand that. Why is this no infield fly rule called? Because the pop-up has to be a sure chance. Not only do runners have to be on first and second or the bases loaded, and there be less than 2 outs, but the pop-up to an infielder has to be an easy chance. He has to be camped under it. And Kent, as you could see, wasn't camped under that one.
The rule being to protect the base runner for an infielder dropping the ball intentionally, hoping to get a double play. As Draper throws a fastball in tight on the hands of Mike Gallego, it's fouled off. 1 strike to count. Gallego with a double and 2 at-bats. 1 of 3 hits by the Yankees in this game as they lead 1-0. Another good fastball. Strike 2 the count.
You see how Draper is moving the ball in and out, though. That ball inside, the inside corner. But he loves to work on the outside and inner parts of the plates. He rarely throws the ball down the middle of the plate. That ball really tying Gallego up.
So Draper with a 2-strike count. See how tough he comes with this pitch. It's a pitcher's pitch. Tries the breaking ball. Tries to get Gallego to go after it. Misses. 1-2. Mike Draper trying to make the ball club. If the Mets return him to the Yankees, they have to lose some money on the deal.
He's already made the club, though. He's on the roster.
So that means that the Mets will pick up a minor league ball player for a very cheap price. I've forgotten what the amount is. $50,000.
Yeah.
Used to be less than that.
It's pocket change nowadays.
Sure is. 1-2 pitch. In tight. He hits him. And that'll load up the bases. Home plate umpire Eric Gregg said it hit the bat, so maybe they're not going to give him first base.
Well, if it hit the bat, it's a fair ball.
Ball rolled out in front of home plate.
Yeah, it's a fair ball. Todd, he was watching the argument, and now first base umpire Ken Kaiser has to call him out if the ball is fair.
He's either on first base by hit by a pitcher or he's out.
Well, it's a tough thing. It probably hit him, but Eric's already made the call, and Eric's kind of explaining that. And Ken Kaiser's got to call him out. Gallego mad. You don't want to get mad in a spring training game, but what makes him probably madder is that he's going to be out and his arm's hurting at the same time. I think that warrants an argument anytime.
Well, he's got the bruise to show for it. There he's trying to say, hey, it hit me right there underneath that tape. Let's cut it off and show.
Yeah, they're going to cut the tape off. You can't do that.
The Mets are leaving the field. They're taking the decision of Eric Gregg, who said that ball did not hit him on the arm, but hit the bat. And if it holds up, that will end the inning. Let's take a look at that.
It sure appeared that it hit him to me, Ralph. Yeah, see, I don't think it makes contact with the bat. It looked like it hit him on the right elbow. And Eric calls it right away that it hit the bat. So Buck Showalter out there trying to protect his players, and now they're going to bring the Mets back out. So now maybe Eric said that it hit his foot after it hit his arm, that it didn't hit his bat as a fair ball. So the count's still 1-2 after all that.
So it looks as though the decision will be that he will be charged as a foul ball. It will be charged as a foul ball against the hitter.
Hundley sitting outside, the ball going inside, and it hit his elbow and then his leg, so it was not a fair ball. Eric Gregg saying that it hit his bat and then his leg, but it hits his arm and then his leg. Well, the umpire's trying to get it right. Eric could call it right away, and now they're going to give Gallego a chance to shake his arm off, and Buck Showalter just out there to protect his players, that's all.
So it will go as a foul ball, and that puts the count of 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Gallego missed 98 games last year with injuries, and Showalter does not want to lose him again, obviously. Impressive young manager. Youngest manager in the major leagues.
Buck Showalter, the count 1-2 on Mike Gallego. Runners at first and second, 2 men out. 1-0 Yankees. That will get him. So after a prolonged stay at the plate, Mike Draper picks up the strikeout to end the inning. 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 left. The score at the end of 5.5 innings. The Yankees won, the Mets nothing. And here's a word from Lexus. For Mike Gallego, and also a new pitcher for the Yankees, a veteran of many, many years, most of them in the National League, Neil Heaton.
Now pitching for the Yankees, number 53, Neil Heaton.
Neil signing with the Minnesota Twins. He's from the shadows of Shea Stadium, from Long Island. Then he went to the Montreal Expos. And then signed with the Pirates in 1989. Actually traded by the Expos to the Pirates for Brett Gideon. And then traded by the Pirates to the Royals for Kirk Gibson in 92. And Kirk Gibson, after retiring for the last 5 months of last year, is back on the scene. He has made the Detroit Ball Club. Had a good spring in the power department. Back in Detroit.
Detroit with a bad spring. They won only 8 games and lost 20 coming into today's action. As Tim Bogart leads it off for the Mets. Tim, a good spring, hitting well this spring. Fouls it off, strike 2. Bogart taking over for the Mets at shortstop and batting in the 9th position in the batting order. The Yankees leading 1-0. The only run scoring on a home run by Bernie Williams. That was as a pinch hitter back in the 3rd. Popped it up. It's playable. Jim Leyritz, the catcher. And Bogart's out. So 1 away, and Dave Gallagher the batter. Gallagher robbed of a base hit his first time up, attempts to bunt here and fouls it off. Strike 1. Mets have had only 1 hit, a double by Ryan Thompson that came back in the 3rd. Off the combined pitching of Jim Abbott, who worked 2 scoreless innings. Rich Montelone, who worked 1 inning. Kamenecki worked 1 inning. John Habian 1 inning. All allowing no runs. The only hit given up by Rich Monteleone. Down the right field line. It'll be extra bases if it's fair, and it's a fair ball. So Gallagher into second base with a stand-up double.
Right before that pitch, Doc Gooden came out on the on-deck circle with a bat in his hand. Number 64. There's Doc. Right on your screen right there. There is no way that Jeff Torborg is going to allow Doc Gooden to be a pinch hitter in a game like today with him the starting pitcher on Monday. But he wanted to hit. Look at him. He's got his bat with him.
Was a pinch hitter for the Mets last year. David Cohn, the only pitcher in Mets history to have a pinch hit base hit. So the Mets with the potential time run at second with 1 out.
David Cohn was the first. Doc had a pinch hit last year as a pinch hitter.
That's right, he did have,
yeah.
Didn't he? And it'll be Chico Walker batting. Batting for the pitcher in the first pitch. Strike 1. Walker this spring hitting .279, hit .279 with 4 runs batted in, no home runs. Two strikes to count.
Contrary to his name, Walker, Chico is a very aggressive hitter. Kind of a tough name to be tagged with, Walker, in baseball. You want a name like Jake Stryker, right?
Pretty good pitcher.
Yeah.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Some great names. Herb Score, Early Win.
Early Win, yeah. Like a name like, you're an offensive offensive player, you'd like a name like Hitter or Pounder or something like that. Slugger.
Jake Slugger would be a
Jake
good
Slugger, yeah. You wouldn't like a name Punching Judy, however.
There have been a few Punch and Judy hitters around, and that pitch in the dirt, good play on it by Layrich to hold the runner.
That's a fine play by Jim Layrich right there. He made only 10 starts as a catcher last year, appearing in 13 games. But watch this pick. Nice play.
2-2 as Neil Heaton works to Chico Walker. Fouled it, so the count stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
For those of you folks who may not know, Punch and Judy as a hitter is it's a play on the old Punch and Judy. Where there were Punch and Judy plays
Puppets.
back in the 30s.
Yeah.
In the 30s and 40s, there were puppets. And when a hitter is called that, he's a guy who has a tendency to get balls that are, when he gets jammed, he loops one over the infield, hits the ball off the end of the bat. They also call hitters Mandrick, the magician.
Mandrick, yeah.
When a guy like a Wade Boggs or somebody like that who is no Punch and Judy by any means.
A drive down the left field line. This should tie it up. Play goes to second, and Chico Walker singles in the tying run as a pinch hitter. And we're all tied up at 1 as Gallagher scores.
See, now that was not a Punch and Judy hit right there. That was a liner. So Gallagher doubles, and now Chico Walker on a Heaton fastball inside rifles one down the left field line. Another good name as a hitter, liner.
So Walker comes through with a big pinch hit to tie it up. And for the Mets, it'll be Jeff McKnight batting for the first time. McKnight replacing Eddie Murray at first base in this game. Murray was 0 for 2. Walker is a threat to steal, so he draws the throw.
Heaton almost picked off Hensley Mullins, the first baseman then. I think Chico read the move better than Mullins did.
McKnight, 214 batting average this spring, hit 271 for the Mets last year. Not too many at bats. There goes Walker, a big jump. No chance for Layrich to get him, and Walker steals second easily. And that stolen base was certainly against the pitcher, Neil Heaton.
That is a big jump by Chico Walker, who can do a lot of things as a pinch hitter. Not only can he hit, but he can run too, as he shows there.
Mets' 19th stolen base of the spring training season in 37 attempts. And a 1-strike count to Jeff McKnight. He attempts the bunt. No contact. And it's strike 2. Well, if you wanted to analyze that play, you'd have to say it was a bad decision on McKnight's part. Tying run has scored. The Mets have the go-ahead run at second, where you want the batter to drive him in. The on-deck batter is Joe Orslack, a left-hand batter. And a breaking ball. 1-2 the count. Neil Heaton working for the Yankees. 5th pitcher for the Yankees. Ball 2, 2-2. 3-2. Three balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. The Mets have tied it at 1, have a runner at second base. And it's ball 4. So McKnight walks to join Walker. And that'll bring up Joe Orsulak. Orsulak was struck out his first time up, replacing Bobby Bonilla in right field. Bonilla flied to left in his only at bat. And a pop-up in the shallow right field. Might drop in. Out there, the second baseman, Pat Kelly, makes a fine play. Walker gets back in time at second base to beat the attempt for the double play.
See, if that ball had landed in between or among those 3 outfielders, that would have been a punch and Judy hit, right, Rob?
Been a personal. Outstanding, exactly.
Yeah, as it turns out, it's a fine play by Pat Kelly. Nice play.
That brings up Howard Johnson. Howard 0 for 1 with a walk. Breaking ball for ball 1. Howard struck out his first time up. That was against Jim Abbott, and walked against Habian, John Habian. Now batting for the 3rd time. 2 balls, no strikes. Good block by Leyritz.
Fine block by Jim Leyritz, who's done a good job this inning behind the plate.
Johnson with the count in his favor. 2 balls, no strikes. And ball 3. So Neil Heaton trying to make a comeback and stay with the Yankees, having big problems here in his 1 inning. Three balls, no strikes. But foul. So Johnson out in front of the 3-0 fastball. Then it goes to 3-1 in the foul ball. Heaton trying to come back from some real arm difficulties. Missed an entire season with the Cardinals. Walker, the runner at second base, and Jeff McKnight, the runner at first. Now they advance as Howard Johnson walks, and that will load up the bases for Jeff Kent. Second walk given up by Heaton, and with the bases loaded, Kent batting for the 3rd time. He has grounded out twice. Ball game tied at 1. The Mets with a run in here in the 6th inning, and with the bases loaded, 2 men out. Kent, the 7th man of the batting inning. This ball hit out to deep right center. A long run for Gerald Williams. He can't get to it. 1-run scores, 2-run score, 3-run score. Kent the third, and he is in there safely. So the Mets take the lead by a score of 4-1 as Kent triples in 3.
Not only does Jeff Kent drive in 3 runs on this triple with the bases loaded, but he gets a free drop. His ball plugs. Watch. It's a free drop. Right, Ralphie? You're the golfer.
That's right.
It's a free drop.
Free drop. You get the clean in place.
That's right. Well, if Jeff Kent can do that on a consistent basis, hit the ball hard when it counts this year, it'll be a happy place here at Shea Stadium. A big, booming 3-run triple by Jeff Kent to put the Mets ahead.
So the Mets leading now 4-1, and the batter, Ryan Thompson, the 8th man to bat in this inning. And a strike call. Thompson got the first hit for the Mets back in the 3rd. The Mets had not had a hit since that hit by Thompson in the 3rd until the base hit by Dave Gallagher to start off the rally here in the 6th inning, when the Mets now have scored 4. Thompson 1 for 2 in the game. Wild swing. Good play on by Lewis to keep the runner at 3rd. Strike 2 the count.
Got to replace the divots, too, on this field. That really took a big hunk out of the earth. We mentioned the sod that was not fully in the outfield. Torn up last year during the Eric Clapton and Elton John concerts.
In the old days, when the Jets used to play football here, they had to resod the field after each football season. But then they moved, and the last time this field had a complete resodding was back in 1989 after the Rolling Stones had an appearance here at Shea. The Beatles have played here at Shea Stadium. Fly ball in the shallow center, and coming up is Gerald Williams. His catch retires aside, but the Mets send 8 to the plate and score 4 runs on 3 hits, and they now lead by a score of 4-1 after 7. After 6. Now here's a word from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. Now going to the 7th, taking the lead with 4 runs in the bottom half of the 6th, and a big help in that 4-1 rally. Chico Walker, who was in as a pinch hitter and got a big base hit to tie the ball game, stays in the game at 3rd base, and a new pitcher for the Mets as Mike Maddox takes over as the Mets' 3rd pitcher. Maddox with a record of 2-2, 5 saves last year with the San Diego Padres, a number on average of 2.37. And he is the new pitcher for the Mets, and coming in for the play-by-play, a man who definitely was no Punch and Judy man, Tim McCarver.
Well, I had my share of flares.
Who didn't? Got to have those.
Got to have those to hit for an average. Flares, another interesting term that hitters term balls that are usually hit the other way. Little loopers, fans familiar with them as Texas League varieties. Players call them flares, parachutes.
Dying quail.
Yeah, dying quail. Andy Stankiewicz takes the ball low. The Mets are on top 4-1, scoring 4 in the 6th inning after the Yankees took the lead in the 3rd. Pinch hit home run by Bernie Williams. On the corner, 1-1 to Andy Stankiewicz. Slider is low from Maddox. 2 balls and a strike to Andy, who certainly deserves a star in perseverance, spending 6 years in the minor leagues before getting a shot. And Buck Showalter, his manager, a couple of those years, so that often happens. Tap toward the left side. Backhanded by Bogart. Safe at first. McKnight thought that he had him, and he tried to decoy Ken Kaiser at first base. So we'll see how it's scored.
This is the old try for a neighborhood play. Bad throw by Bogart. McKnight makes a great pickup, but the throw has pulled him off the bag. And with the ball in his glove, his foot off the bag. And Ken Kaiser, the first base umpire, said, no, you're not going to get this one.
Has not been scored yet, but now it has. It's an error on Tim Bogart. And a good call by Ken Kaiser as Pat Kelly comes up for the first time today. Foul back. But talking about a manager, if he gets a job in the major leagues, often it is true that he has been impressed by younger players in the minors that normally wouldn't get a shot were it not for the fact that this guy is the manager. A young guy like Buck Showalter in this case. There's a strike 0-2 to Pat Kelly.
A lot of times he'll bring up a player or several players that he managed in the minor leagues, saying, I saw this guy play and he can do it.
Yep. Any examples of that through the years to fill the 23rd, 4th, or 5th spots on the roster. 0-2 to Pat Kelly. Fly ball left field. And there was a mistake that Mike Maddox got away with. A hanging splitter.
Well, not all of the mistakes that pitchers make are hit out of the ballpark.
That's
You'll
right.
hear a pitcher say, well, he hit a mistake. This is a changeup or a split finger fastball that is up, but it's popped up. Also, when pitchers say he hit a good pitch, it's not often a good pitch.
Kind of like broadcasters who make mistakes, as I just did. I call that a splitter, and Mike Maddox told me about 4 days ago that he doesn't throw when he throws a changeup.
Well, it looks like a splitter.
But it did look like a splitter, and nowadays anything that appears to topple down, you automatically call a splitter. But I do remember talking to Mike, and I thought that pitch was a splitter, but it is a changeup. So it's 2 balls and no strikes now to Mike Humphreys, who is 0 for 2 with a walk on the afternoon. It's 4-1 Mets here in the 7th.
I'll tell you something, Tim. I did an interview after a ball game when Doc Ellis pitched a great game against the Mets, and every question I asked him, he says, no. I said, you really had a good slider day. He says, no, I don't throw a slider. I said, well, your control was good. He said, no, it was really off. This whole thing went on like that. It was really tough and embarrassing. Those were the days when Doc Ellis was using the foreign substance, not on the ball, but in his body.
And has admitted that in his book. Matter of fact, he said during his no-hitter that he used drugs back in the early 70s, and he is now a counselor. He is clean and doing a terrific job. I think he was most recently with the Texas Rangers organization.
I think you're right.
Could be wrong, but ground ball left side, could be 2. Walker to Kent, double play. A left-handed punch out at first base by Ken Kaiser. 4-1 Mets, bottom of the 7th. Home stretch right after this from your Tri-State Toyota dealer. Quite a while in this game. There are no changes in this inning. The Yankees have had 5 pitchers work today. Jim Abbott started. Scott Kamenecki in the 3rd. John Habian in the 4th inning. Make that 4 pitchers for the Richmond. No, there were 5. Rich Monteleone is the one I missed. As you see, Wade Boggs bringing his .338 lifetime average to the New York Yankees, signing as a free agent this winter. 3-year contract as Todd Hundley will bat right-handed against Neil Heaton. 1-1 to Hundley. Todd is 0 for 2 on the afternoon.
You wonder how much he's going to miss that left field fence in Fenway Park. As a left-hand batter, he could use that fence to get a lot of base hits, which he won't have that advantage at Yankee Stadium.
Well, on the other hand, you may have the left fielder, the opposing left fielder's playing deep on him, and he may be able to sink it in front of him.
Outstanding contact batter, and not a pull hitter to take advantage of this short right field fence, so he might have to change his way of hitting to compensate for the difference in the ballparks.
He did have one power year. I believe it was 87 when he had 29 home runs for the Red Sox. 3-2 to Hundley. And Leyritz could have hurt his either ankle or right knee. Fly ball left center field over is Gerald Williams, and he makes the catch. Ralph, you were talking about contact, and Wade Boggs, a contact hitter. Interesting photograph in Sport Magazine with Mark McGwire hitting. We took a look at it before the game. Man, have you ever seen this before?
I've never seen a bat with a curvature in it when the contact of the bat and ball have been made. Now, you see that all the time with golf clubs, but they're much more limber. But I've never seen it where the bat has much more density.
Yeah, of course, the golf club doesn't have a wooden shaft either, does it?
No.
Tim Bogart grounding out.
That was a picture that was shot for Sport Magazine. An outstanding picture.
You could see clearly that the wood actually bent on the swing and contact of Mark McGwire, but that bat didn't break on contact.
He's hit it a little bit near the center of the bat. It's not quite on the sweet spot.
Not quite, but close.
Close enough
for a guy that strong.
That's right. You don't have to hit him on that perfect spot with a guy that can hit the ball as hard as he can.
Dave Gallagher doubled and scored the first run of the game in the 6th inning. Dave 1 for 2, filling in for Vince Coleman, who had one at bat this afternoon. 4-1 Mets on top of the Yankees. Ball and 2 strikes now to Dave Gallagher. 2 outs. We're in the 7th inning. Don't forget the Mets open on Monday afternoon, 2:10 game time, and then a 1:40 start next Wednesday. We'll be on the air at 1:30 if you can't make it out. And then the Houston Astros, that fine ball club of Art Howe, under new ownership. Drayton McClain buying the club from John McMullen late last season. Cued, fair. Look at this thing. We talked about Punch and Judy before, and Dave Gallagher will take it and laugh about it.
Well, he was robbed of a hit back in the 3rd inning, so he gets part of it back. This ball is skewed, is the word maybe, or cued, right off the end of the bat, just beyond the bag, hits in fair territory. And he has a base hit, his 2nd of the game.
Of course, you're not real happy with those in spring training because it's not indicative of your timing, but during a season,
that
do anything for a ball like that.
Yeah, you could say it was skewed, cued, but maybe skizzled would be a good
to
word.
bring back another word, one of your words. There goes Gallagher, grounded by Chico Walker to 3rd. And Velarde throws him out. The Mets don't score in the 7th, but they lead 4-1 over the Yankees. We'll be back after this message from Ford.
Take the call. Dial 718-507-TIXX.
New pitcher for the Mets, Paul Gibson, to pitch. He's 0-1 off last year's record and literally pitching for a spot in the ball club. He was scheduled to pitch yesterday in Washington, D.C. and was rained out of that. And so a good performance here might keep him on the ball club. It's life or death as far as his major league career with the Mets is concerned.
And speaking of yesterday in Washington, D.C., first base coach Frank Howard, the ex-manager of the Mets, had his number retired, number 33. They also gave him a seat of old Griffith Stadium as Deion Jones takes strike one, or ball one, I beg your pardon. That was such a warm story, and Frank obviously pleased to have his number retired, and what a terrific hitter he was. I remember in the 1969 All-Star game, his home run against Steve Carlton to the opposite field, and I mean, was it crushed.
Started his career with the Los Angeles Dodgers and one of the strongest players to ever play this game, and certainly credited with some of the longest home runs ever hit in the history of the game of baseball.
2 balls and a strike to Deion James, and he lifts one to right center field over his Orsolak. Now it's Thompson. 1 out.
Replace their divots.
Ryan slipping and sliding in the outfield. Pete Flynn and his ground crew hoping to have the grass to take hold a little bit better by Monday. There's Pete.
Boy, he's had a tough winter with the winter that they've had here in New York. Snow and ice and rain, and he might want to go back to Ireland for good.
Came from Ireland in the early 70s, did Pete, and should know something about Pete. Since Pete is 80% of the homes in Ireland are fueled by Pete. Ralph?
Absolutely.
2 balls and no strikes to Randy Velarde. Matter of fact, there is only one other country in which Pete is exported, to my knowledge, and that is Russia. See what you have to look forward to this year, fans?
Yeah, for Pete's sake, why wish you wouldn't bring those things up?
It's a good feed, wasn't it? 2-2 to Randy Velarde. 4-1 Mets here in the 8th.
It's not worth repeating.
Just misses inside. 3-2 to Velarde. So will it be Paul Gibson tomorrow or Tim Bogart to fill that 25th spot? Paul Gibson strikes out Velarde. 2 outs. One of the things that is against Paul Gibson is that the Mets do lack a middle infielder in case Jeff Kent or Tony Fernandez goes down. What is in Paul Gibson's favor, however, is that Jeff Torborg would prefer to carry 11 pitchers. But he doesn't know whether he has that luxury available to him. It's a ball and no strikes now to Matt Noakes, who is the pinch hitter for Jim Leyritz. Noakes getting a shot to hit against the left-handed pitcher.
And it's a good break for Gibson because Gibson has a reputation of not getting left-hand hitters out. If he could strike out Matt Noakes here, it would help his cause.
2 balls and a strike to Matt. Like the breaking ball here. Yep, the curve is high. 3 balls and a strike to Matt Noakes. Popped up in the infield. Over is Bogart. And he makes the catch. A strong inning for Paul Gibson as the Yankees go in order. Still 4-1 Mets after 8. We're back after this from Chase, Manhattan.
Bar is with Mash, right?
That's right.
Well, Steve is not far behind as he comes in with a record of 2-2 with 30 saves, the #1 relief man for the Yankees last year. Look at that earned run average, 1.56.
And Matt Noakes is the new catcher as Jeff McKnight is the hitter for the Mets. 4-1. Mets on top. A 3-run triple by Jeff Kent with the bases loaded in the 6th inning. That's the difference in this ball game. McKnight 0 for 1. He did walk and score a run in the 6th inning. One and 1 to Jeff McKnight. Curve lifted to center field. Back is Williams, and he off his glove. Well, the one thing that we have seen today is that Gerald Williams and right fielder Mike Humphreys, they play very shallow. I'll tell you, you're going to get burned occasionally at doing that, but generally speaking, you're going to be better off.
Well, one of the things that hampers the outfield is this heavy turf. It's very wet out there, so you can't get your full speed up, and that ball in and out of the glove.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ralph, because he normally catches that ball.
Yeah.
Slowed
Score
down.
that an error. That's a tough error.
Yep. So an error on Gerald Williams. And Joe Orsulak, who is 0 for 2, takes ball 1. 1-0 to Orsulak. Little looper to left field, base hit. In is McKnight, I beg your pardon, and he scores as Orsulak goes to second base. It's 5-1 Mets. Fine base running by Jeff McKnight, scoring on a shallow single by Orsulak.
Well, this is an interesting swing. Look how Orsulak chops at this ball. Gets right over the top of it, lines it in the left field. And Deion James with a bad throw home. It can't be cut off. It's too high over the cutoff man's head, and that allows the runner, Orsulak, to go to second. Check out this swing once again. Now watch how he gets on top of this ball with the top hand. He really puts that top hand, his left hand, over the top and drives down the ball for the base hit.
Really fought it off the other way.
Yeah.
RBI number 9 on spring training, and who's the pinch hitter? But Doc Gooden. And the one thing, he's pinch hitting for Paul Gibson, but the one thing I'm sure that Jeff Torborg reminded me, if you do hit a ground ball on the infield, don't be running like you're trying to beat it out. Otherwise, you pull a muscle. Check swing. It's 0-2 to Gooden. Doc going back to his number 64, the number which he wore in 1984. Then he became 1/4 of that, wearing number 16 from 85 on.
And he's going to go back to that number in the regular season. He's trying to relive and hoping it will rub off that great year he had in 84.
2-2 to Gooden. You're watching Mets Baseball 93 on Channel 9, WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. Got him on the breaking ball. So Gooden, as a pinch hitter, is down on strikes. One out here in the 8th inning, and that'll bring up second baseman Jeff Kent. With Doc wearing number 64, I have one question. If you drive through the Lincoln Tunnel and you come out on 42nd Street and you're going into Manhattan, there is a huge sign against a building, and it's Doc Gooden. It's been there for about 7 years, and his number is 16 there. Now, it's number 64, so what do you do? What does Nike do? It's an advertisement for Nike. Doc, they'll have to repaint that 64, I suppose.
Either that or close the tunnel.
Hi to Kent. It's 1-1 to Jeff Kent.
He has said that he will go back to his regular number in the season, and he'll be the opening day pitcher.
16,
Yeah. That takes care of that.
Maybe a phone call by Nike took care of that.
Yeah, a little
Said, "Hey,
graffiti
Doc."
might have taken care of that too.
Fly ball right center and playable. Humphrey's over to make the catch. Tagging at second is Orsulak. He goes to third, but there are 2 outs. And Ryan Thompson coming up.
Thompson.
Hope springs eternal for this young man. He is still considered a rookie, as he did not have the 130 at-bats last year. So if Ryan Thompson has a good year, a possibility of Rookie of the Year. Last Rookie of the Year for the Mets, Darryl Strawberry in 1983. Oh, nope, Doc Gooden right after Darryl Strawberry, and this one looped in the photographer's booth, so it's 0-2 to Ryan Thompson. Darryl was the Rookie of the Year in 83, Gooden the Rookie of the Year in 84. Tom Seaver, the first Mets Rookie of the Year back in 1967. This one fouled off the shin guard of Eric Gregg, still 0-2.
Eric is probably thinking, and I came back for one of these, missed last year.
Actually, off the mask.
Mask, yeah, that's tough.
For the record, by the way, the other Rookie of the Year for the Mets, John Matlack, back in 1972. So the Mets have had 4. Inside, barely. 1-2 now to Thompson.
Rookie of the Year started in 1947. First one was Jackie Robinson of the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Breaking ball, grounded to third. One-handed by Velarde, and he throws him out. And Ryan Thompson pulls up lame. Oh, boy. One would hope that it's just a strain and not a pull. So Ryan Thompson on the shelf, and what a terrible break for that young man. Oh, boy. 4-1, make that 5-1 Mets here in the 9th. We'll be back after this from Bud Light. Well, there are many changes in this inning, but the big news is that Ryan Thompson re-injured that left leg. You may remember the earlier part of spring training. He missed about a week, and they thought initially Sam McCrary right there with Ryan's left leg, Steve Garland in the foreground, and they thought initially that it was a strain of his left hamstring, and he looked to be in some pain there, and he limps off to the trainer's room and will have that left leg iced down. Mets are leading 5-1, but they hope in the process of winning they don't lose the services of Ryan Thompson. Here are the changes in the outfield. McKnight, who was at first, moves to left. Dave Gallagher in center. Orsulak in right. Charlie O'Brien at first, and Anthony Young the pitcher.
And Anthony Young, a good spring. Coming in to finish out this ball game for the Mets.
And he faces Kevin Moss, and the fastball is outside corner, actually. 0-1 to Kevin Moss.
Young 2-14 last year, but right in the middle of all that, he had a fine series of games in relief, picking up for John Franco when Franco went down with an injury.
He and Franco tying for the Mets lead in saves with 15 apiece. A ball and 2 strikes to Kevin Moss. Moss will be the designated hitter against right-handed pitchers for the Yankees this year. Really no place to put him. Got Mattingly at first base. That's his best position. Guy who broke in fine fashion, hitting 15 home runs in his first 133 at-bats for the Yankees.
That's a fantastic start. It reminds me of a player that broke in with the Pirates named Dino Restelli.
You tell a great story about Dino Restelli. Why don't you tell it right now? 1 out.
Well, he was doing so well. He had something like 7 home runs in his first 9 games or so, and then he faced Ewell Blackwell. Ewell, the greatest, toughest right-hand pitcher that any right-hand batter ever faced. And he asked me, what does this guy throw? And I said, I really don't know. I said, you'll just be lucky if you stay alive. Well, as it turned out, he did stay alive, but he got hit by a 2-strike pitch right on the left shoulder, and if he hadn't gotten that left shoulder up, he would never have been around.
The reason Blackwell hit him was because he gave him that little wave saying, come on, it's ready to pitch.
He wore glasses. He stepped out of the box after the first 2 pitches with 2 strikes on him, and he took his bandana out, cleaned up his glasses, and put him back on, stepped back in the batter's box, dug a hole with his back foot. I'm in the on-deck circle. I'm afraid to look. And the next pitch got him right on the left shoulder. I mean, you just didn't do that in those days.
And not to a guy like Blackwell, from what I've heard. It's 2 balls and a strike to Gerald Williams. High chopper. It could be a base hit, and will be, as Gerald Williams has Yankee hit number 4 on the afternoon, an infield hit. This copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by Sterling AA Enterprises, LP, solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Sterling AA Enterprises, LP, and WWOR-TV is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of this program, such as by charging admission for its showing, likewise prohibited. It's 5-1. Mets on top of the Yankees. 15,068 total in the house. 14,425 paid, and it's for New York charities, as Paul O'Neill steps up to hit against Anthony Young, and he takes strike 1. Yankees looking for a big year out of this guy who came to the Pinstripes for Roberto Kelly. Cincinnati had a terrific spring, as did the Yankees.
Cincinnati leading the Grapefruit League, 18-8. Yankees 20-10, second to Cincinnati in percentage. Mets, if they win this ball game, at 500, 14-14.
Side door slider misses. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Paul O'Neill. 5-1 Mets. Just outside, 2-2. Three balls and 2 strikes to O'Neill. These two teams will meet at Yankee Stadium tomorrow afternoon as part of the charity operation. Predicting a fine day tomorrow. There goes Gerald Williams. The fastball is outside. So Young walks O'Neill. 2 on and 1 out here in the 9th inning. 5-1 Mets, and that'll bring up Andy Stankiewicz, the shortstop. Jeff Ennis is up and throwing. I would imagine Young will be permitted to work this inning. Anthony started last season in the rotation of the Mets, winning his first start in St. Louis, a complete game. And who was to think that before the season was over, he'd be the #1 guy in the bullpen. 0-1 to Stankiewicz. Clete Boyer playing with the crowd around third base. Went to throw the foul ball back to the crowd, and then he was teasing them. He has it in his back pocket right now. Line drive off the glove of Jeff Kent. That would have been a double play to end the game. As it is, bases are loaded. Potential tying run coming up. Cletus has still got that ball in his back pocket. And Anthony Young would have had the game in his back pocket had Jeff Kent come up with that line drive.
Well, he had his back pocket picked right here. It looks in the glove and it's not there, as that ball had some knuckle on it. Knuckleball trajectory. They're going to score it as a base hit, which is unbelievable. Should have been a double play in the ball game.
So potential tying run, Pat Kelly the batter. And he flies it to right field. In is Orsulak, an easy play for Joe. Basket catch. Runners do not advance. There are now 2 outs. That'll bring up Mike Humphreys, the right fielder. Humphreys 0 for 3 on the afternoon. Outfielders playing a little deeper now because Humphreys represents a potential tying run. For the most part, the runners on base do not matter other than the fact that they lead up to the tying run. But the big guy is the guy with the stick in his hand, and it's ball 1 to Humphreys. Outfield does that to prevent the double, or to take as much precaution as they can to prevent the double. 1-1 to Humphreys. The idea being, of course, that if you play deeper, you can cut off the angle a lot better. Cut down on the gappers. 1 ball, 1 strike to Mike Humphreys. 2 out. We're in the 9th. The Yankees have the bases loaded. It's 5-1 Mets. Slider on the corner. 1-2. Mets fans are on their seat. Now they're standing. And time is called. And Hundley wants to talk to AY. Fastball is down. The one thing a young catcher doesn't want to do is set up too early. When Hundley sets up to a right-handed batter inside like that, there's only one pitch that can be called for, and that's a fastball. He's outside now. And the slider is lined right at Chico Walker at third. Well, that'll do it. The first meeting in New York of these two teams this year, won by the Mets, 5-1, and look at this. Clete Boyer still teasing the fans over there with that foul ball, and now he says, I'm not going to give you the ball unless you have a Yankee logo, and he did. So that young man, the proud owner of a Major League foul ball, and Anthony Young with one inning of work, and it was scoreless. The only run scored against the Mets today, a home run by Bernie Williams, as the Mets win it 5-1. The big knock in the game, Jeff Kent, a 3-run triple in the 6th inning, an inning in which the Mets scored 4 times. The Mets are 14-14 on the spring. The Yankees record now 20-11. And we will have a Kiner's Corner this afternoon. More post-game comments right after this from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages.